software doesn't like me, and sometimes it just stops the stream. And I'm very upset that that happens, but I have no other possibilities than to start the stream again. I hope that's not too much of an inconvenience. As I was saying, here it explains about the C#, about a lot of stuff. For example, it tells about why C# is actually good. The things that it has a lot of advantages over a lot of other programming languages. For example, it is object-oriented, it is component-oriented, which is very great and actually very, very useful for very huge projects. It basically means that you can divide down your huge project into smaller parts. Imagine that you're cooking a huge meal, but you cannot do it all at once. That's why you break it down to the smaller ingredients, you prepare them, then you put them all together in a big, huge pot. Imagine this is the same thing. Easy to learn? I don't agree completely with this point, because it's actually sometimes very difficult for the debugging purpose, because of the language structure it has. But it is much easier than C++, to be honest, because it's much more straightforward, much more easier to understand, and the standard libraries which are actually included in C#, especially for the Microsoft Visual Studio compiler, are just fantastic. A lot of things are already provided, and you can just use them without having to worry about optimizations, about debugging, about anything. You just use it and you can be happy with it. It's a structured language, which basically means that you can write it in blocks, like here. It produces efficient programs because of the standard libraries it has, and also the compiler optimization. It's very good. It can optimize pretty good. It's not as good maybe as a Unix compiler in some senses, but it works pretty good actually. And it's part of .NET Framework. This is a huge thing. This is the standards library that I was talking about. It gives you so many possibilities, which makes a lot of things so much more easier than if you have to write them from scratch. One example of the .NET Framework is exactly this console.writeLine, which basically means to write anything that I give it here into the screen. And without this, it would be a little bit more difficult. It's manageable, but it would be a little bit more difficult to handle this. But here, this is actually part of system.console, as you can see. So if I delete this using, because if you remember, using meant that I could use the functions and the classes of the things that are written in this namespace. Console, as you can see, is in the class system.console. So it is defined into the system namespace. So if I just delete this, then I have not the access to console anymore, because I have no access to the codes of the system namespace. Okay, not to make you too much confused, I can write here hello world, how are you, for example. And when I just run it, I can see, how are you? Fantastic, it's working. Now, the other things that here it explains a lot about different things, different features. If I want to go into all of them right now, it will take a long time to explain it, especially if you have no idea what the program languages can do. So I will leave this for a later stage. The .NET Framework is the standards library that I just spoke about. If you use the Visual Studio that you can see here, you don't have to worry about this because it's included natively. You don't need to do anything special. It has it and all of the features of the .NET framework will be available to you without any problems. Has my stream not started again? Am I just talking to myself? That would be fantastic. All this time I'm explaining and nothing. No, it's streaming. Okay. So, as I was saying, what was I saying? I have no idea now. Okay, I'm gonna assume that I was talking about the .NET framework. Here it is natively inside, you don't need to worry about it. If you want to code in Unix, for example, or Linux or this kind of stuff, that's a different story, but I will not go into it. I will just start with Visual Studio. This is the IDE that I grew up with, literally, and this is the IDE that I'm sticking with. So, yeah. Then let's see, what was the next part? Again, here it's a lot of technical stuff that I will not get into right now. Yeah, this is the basic structure that I was talking about. We have the using namespace, which imports the namespace, which gives me access to everything. Then I can define the namespace. Pay attention, when I define the namespace here, I have to open and close. I have no idea what these are called. But in Persian language, we actually call them eyebrows because they look similar to eyebrows. And that's why I'm also going to call them eyebrows. So I have to open an eyebrow and I have to close an eyebrow. Then here I can define a class, like class hello world. Then I can define a function. Function can be defined with some steps. First of all, I have to write what the return value is. If you don't know what it means, don't worry about it right now. For now, we just will write void. Then I write the function name. This will be the function name. Pay attention, C is case sensitive. So main with a capital M and main with a lowercase m are actually different things. And this is the input values. And again, if you have no idea, don't worry about it. In console applications, like this one, we need to have one function, and only one function, which looks exactly like this. And this function is actually the function that the program will start with. The compiler, when it's running the program, must know where it should start. And in console applications, this function is the start point. So if I change this, for example, to main1, I will actually not be able to run this program because the compiler doesn't know, has no idea where to start. Let's see. As you see, I have an error because there does not contain a static main method. This means that, and as you can see in the rest of it, main method suitable for an entry point, which means I don't know where to start. So I will revert this back to main, and now it will start again. Because of the signature, it knows where to start. So then here, I will talk later also about the static keywords. You need to know what object-oriented programming is to understand what the static keywords means. So for now, let's leave it as it is. Don't worry about it. We will leave these all as they are, and right now we will only focus on this part. Okay? So the first thing that's written here, it's console.writeLine. This is a function which is being called, and this is actually the argument. If I want to explain it a little bit better, is that this part, the arguments here, are actually what I pass on to the function, and this writeLine is the name of a function in the namespace of system in the class name of console. So I have here somewhere in another file written system. Here I have written console, and here I have written write line. And then the function that has been defined by the guys in Microsoft does a specific thing. Every function which has been predefined by the .NET framework or by the system namespace or by any other library that we can import, every function does a specific thing. This particular function, console.writeLine, just writes anything that is written as the argument of the function in the black thingy, in the console application. So whatever I write here, it will just show up. I can also write some profanities, if you like, but I'm not so sure if Twitch will actually filter me, but let's just keep it a little bit more clean, okay? But it will show up, it doesn't care whatever happens. And just for you to know, to run the program, I have here the start option, but if I press it, it will just come and go. But I also have the possibility to press F5, which will basically do the same thing as this, it will come and go. But if I press Ctrl F5, it will run the program and let it stay. But there is a difference between starting the program with F5 and Ctrl F5. Generally, we want to start it with F5, but because it just comes and goes, I will use another function. And it is actually the next function which is written here. It's console.readKey. This function, what it does is basically it waits for the user to press one single key, key on the keyboard, of course. Okay, let's try it. Console.readKey. Okay, so if I just play it, now it stays, and if I press any key, it will just go away. So, guess what read line does? Okay, actually I have to write the line in capital letters. Guess what read line does? I have no idea. Let's look. If I just move the cursor over to this, it will actually tell me a little bit about it. Here it says, reads the next line of characters from the standard input stream. The standard input stream is a fancy name for the black screen thingy for the console application. And if I write here, for example, console.read key, what does it say? Obtains the next character or function pressed by the user. Okay. Function key is the F1 to F12. The pressed key is optionally displayed in the console window. Oh, so it's an optional thing if it should be displayed or not. So here, when I play this, right now if I write it, it will not go away. But when I press enter, then it goes, because it was waiting for a line. So, right now I will just want to mess a little bit with these two functions. I want to make an echo program. Should be easy enough, right? I will just start read it, okay, console.readLine, and whatever it's written in the read line, I want it to say it back to me. But how can I know what it is in here? Well, every function, as I just mentioned very quickly before, has two properties. One, it has an argument. Two, it has a return value. Imagine it like this, that I have a food processor. On top of it, I put the food in, and at the bottom, there comes the processed food, the blended, the mashed, whatever I want. Okay, so the input, the argument of the function is the food. The return value, the output, is the processed food, and the function itself is the food processor. So what happens here is that readLine doesn't have any arguments, it doesn't need any arguments, but it returns something to me. The value it returns is what the user has written. Okay, so what I can do is I can define, I can just write what I read from the read line. So I will just do this. I will say console. What am I writing wrong here? Oh, sorry. Console. What the hell is the problem of the? Can you not write this? Console dot write line, read line. Okay. So let's see what's happening here. Okay. What is happening here is that this function will read the line that the user has written, and it will return the value. Now I put this into a new function as the argument of the function. WriteLine is a function that takes an argument, and whatever the argument is, it will display on the screen. Okay, so, and I will also write a console.read key at the end of it, so that just the screen doesn't go away. This will not do anything special, just it will keep the screen on. So if I just play it, and I write something, I write hello, and I press it, then, as you can see, the answer is hello. Okay, now if I press another key, it will close. So if I say, for example, you are a bleep, okay, whatever, okay, it will also say it. And that's you, that's not me, that's the computer. So, again, imagine it like this, that I have something, I have a function that puts out a value. I put the value into another function. This function displays it. The read line gives me the characters that I have written. The write line writes the character that were given to it as its argument. So this is the basic thing for read line and write line. These are the two basic functions that we are going to use a lot actually for console applications, as a matter of fact. So the thing is that I will basically leave the stream here to get some feedback, to see if I'm going too fast or too slow, if it is boring or interesting enough. And if the feedback is positive, I will continue and I will upload the next video as fast as possible. And thanks for the support. Please give me feedback, please leave comments, please subscribe. And if you do that, it would be greatly appreciated. I will call out your names. I will call actually two names out right now. One is my friend Belcent actually, who gave the suggestion to start with C#, and also another dude which actually also made a YouTube account just for me, and his name was Pritz, and I just wanted to say I greatly appreciate that. So I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope it was not too boring and was interesting enough so that you will be interested to come back again. So see ya and have a nice day. Bye.